Today we have with us Dr. Maheshwara Chaitanya, Chairman Admission, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, and Mr. Arjun Mohan, Chief Executive Officer, UpGrad. The topic of the webinar is choosing a career for higher education in India in the current scenario. Amrita's education system is unique and extremely relevant in the current scenario. Dr. Maheshwara Chaitanya will be talking about the BTech courses offered by Amrita, which will be helpful for the future engineers. Mr. Mohan will be talking about the benefits of online courses. Welcome to the webinar. Dr. Maheshwara Chaitanya, how do we choose the best career for higher education, and why is engineering the most sought after career today?
So, Lakshmi, let me thank you for this wonderful opportunity first, and a very good morning. Have a nice day. So, all are asking about the same question, the best branch or how to choose the engineering branch, etc. There is only one line answer for that. Basically, we have to go with our own passion. We in this, and the students have to choose the branch based on their passion, their interest. There are a lot of tools available now in the online scenario, especially in the online scenario, where they can just go to the websites and take a test called a psychometric test. So the psychometric test will tell them what all their interests are, and what is the potential in a student. Basically, the potential is something like, which we are not aware of. We have that potential, but we are not aware of that potential from a children point of view. So they can take the test, and they can explore, and they can have two things. One is their interest, and the other thing is their potential. So my suggestion is always to go with their passion, and not to go with the pressure from the teachers, the parents, the relatives, the friends, because generally in the Indian context, everybody goes behind one specific branch just by hearsay. So that people have to come out of it. The students have to come out of it, and it is the role of the educators to make sure that they are given enough platforms to explore what all careers are available. Especially, I'm sure that Arjun can add on, because especially in this digital age, what all things they can learn online and what all things they can learn offline. So these two things are very, very important. And the most important thing is the skill, not just the classroom knowledge, what they learn in classrooms. So even when I used to teach, I always emphasize on the practical experience, practical experiments, rather than just going with the textbook knowledge. So that is more important. And the way in which we look at the engineering domain, it has changed a lot. A mechanical engineer cannot be just confined to mechanical engineering. He has to definitely learn data analytics, or he has to definitely learn how the data is acquired from a mechanical device or from a device. Because ultimately, everything counts down to data. Data is going to be the most valuable thing more than human life. So the students will have to think from that point of view. It is totally of interdisciplinary nature, whether it is electrical engineer, whether it is communication engineer, whether it is aerospace engineer, whether it is mechanical engineer, and especially computer science engineer. They have to think from the digital point of view, how the data is created, generated, even from a mechanical device. So that is more and more important. Analytics is going to be more and more important even for an engineer, because an engineer can innovate, an engineer can design, an engineer can test, build a prototype only with this analysis. And that analysis, whatever used to be done manually, now completely it is done by computer. So based on that output, somebody can decide. So that is why engineering domain is more and more important, or engineering domain will remain important, but at the same time, students with skills alone will get better jobs, not just a degree, not just qualification. And I'm 100% sure that in the years to come, even the companies like Microsoft or Amazon or Google, they will look for the skills alone rather than a BTech with 9% CGPA or 9 CGPA or 10 CGPA. Skill is more important, performance is more important. So that is what my answer is. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Now, how do we put both together, skill, performance, and then balancing it for kids? It's not an easy thing, right? So, like your performance is all that you marks that you get in your college throughout and further. But the fact is that the developing a skill is a different ball game altogether. So how does your university manage to do both of them? The engineering degrees provided by university manage to develop these skill sets also.
Let me first, I should just point, note one point. One of the important facts about Amrita University is we are a charitable organization and we try to solve the problems in the society. So, how do we solve a problem in the society? By bringing the problems into a classroom or by taking the students to the real scenario. For example, we have something called as Living Labs, and Living Labs is a unique project initiated by the Chancellor herself. So she wants the students, the engineering students, the communication students, find out the problems and solve with the theory whatever they have learned in the classroom. So which means they become the real problem solvers. So the curriculum is very important for an engineering program. And if the curriculum doesn't have enough stuff to balance between theory and experiments or theory and practice, then there will not be any skill. And that is one of the reasons why the regulatory bodies like UGC or AICT, they are emphasizing on having internship in between the semesters. So a student who is pursuing engineering degree, he has to be in the field. It is no more a classroom profession. Definitely not. Somebody who is looking for automobile engineering, he has to do internship in the industry only, not by sitting and doing some online research and reading the books. No, it is not possible. So a real problem solving, which is the 21st century skill, that skill can be attained only if they are in the field. So we have the way in which we have crafted our tailored our curriculum is the students can go directly to the society, get down to the village level, because India has a lot of villages. There are a lot of problems to be solved. It can be water scarcity, it can be environmental issues, it can be electricity issues. So everything can be solved only with the help of an engineering design. And that engineering design, a student who wants to pursue engineering, they are given the opportunity to go to the real scenario where they study about what is happening in the background and they come up with the solution with the help of whatever they have learned in the classroom. So that is how we do it.
Mr. Mohan, this is for you. A quality education at an affordable price is still a challenge in our country. How can we solve this ongoing crisis and how are you doing it?
So, first of all, thank you, Outlook and Lakshmi, for having me here. And it's a pleasure to share screen with somebody like Maheshwara Chaitanya. And I'm calling it screen because that's the world we are living in. Very relevant question today about the affordability of it. See, I just want to take a step back and look at the current scenario, right? Whatever said and done, COVID has taught us to challenge a lot of assumptions we were living with, that we need so many classrooms, that we need so much of access, and so on and so forth. So fundamentally, what has been a problem for the Indian education system for really long has been the access and the affordability. So there is only so many quality institutions like Amrita, where you have the thought process, the teachers, the curriculum, where a student can be educated to be upskilled. And of course, when you have a university and restricted number of seats, this is always an issue that only so many students can go in there. Now, when you have a supply demand gap, that is where the price will go up. That's a natural economic policy, right? What online has done to this entire thing is the concept of scarcity, which was imposed by educational infrastructure, to some extent has been solved through technology. And hence, suddenly, a large part of our society has got access to the top quality curriculum and teachers through the online way of doing things. So in our the way we are looking at things, we think the problem of education system in India can not be solved by building more university buildings. It can only be solved by taking things online. I mean, there are fantastic teachers and curriculum. And for instance, Mr. Chaitanya spoke about the living labs. Such a beautiful concept. Why should only a few students in the university get access to it? In our way, it should be an open system. Yes, distance can be a problem, location can be a problem. So let's take it online. So the way we are looking at things is, if you are able to build those tools, which is able to scale these great ideas online, so that more and more students get access to it, then we solve the problem of the gross enrollment ratio in this country. Another important aspect I want to say is, see, whatever said and done, we are a country where economic situation of a family decides a lot about the education of the kids in that family. I mean, if a family has a problem in having enough money to feed themselves, the first thing the parent will do is, after 12th standard, the kid should start earning. You can't really go against these kind of a problems. So educations become deprioritized there. They don't see a point why they should strive hard and not work. So now the second aspect where how we are trying to solve this is, especially with the help of the new national education policy, is we are trying to create an ecosystem with our university partners wherein students can learn while they earn. So they continue with their occupation, be an Uber driver or a Swiggy delivery boy or a Zomato delivery boy. At the same time, these kids who dropped off after 12th standard can continue their bachelor's education online from a university as highly rated like Amrita. I mean, we are in partnership with Amrita. So we are taking Amrita's BBA, BCA courses online today. So think about an NIRF rank 4 university offering you same degree, same quality online, while you are allowed to continue working, which is required for you to take care of your family. So I think this is the way we are making the education more accessible and affordable. And this is the way ahead for this country, where there are very, very practical problems or following a traditional model like Western countries. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. Diya Maheshwara Chaitanya, this is for you. How is the admission procedure at Amrita? Like, what is it that you look for? How much weightage is given to the entrance exam, and how much weightage is given to the board exam?
So it is pretty direct, Lakshmi. Basically, we have our own entrance examination. Those students who are interested to join for a BTech program at Amrita, they can pursue or they can go through our own entrance examination, which is fully online again, with an AI proctored mechanism. And those who are not interested in writing our entrance examination, they can even go for JEE mains. With JEE main score, they can get admission into BTech program. Otherwise, we have two other windows. One is the SAT conducted by College Board, which is recognized internationally. And then one more test is there introduced this year, that is the Pearson Undergraduate Engineering Entrance Examination. So there are 4 windows for us to get into, for a student to get into Amrita. And how the thing work is, we will try to allot their best preference. So they can submit the choice. For example, they want computer science at Coimbatore, or computer science at Chennai, or computer science at Bangalore, or Amritapuri. So based on their score, if a candidate has got 4 scores, what happens is, what we will do, we will try all the 4 scores to to allot the top preference, their first preference, so that the candidate is benefited with all the 4 scores. So that is how it is. It is an automated system. They just feed in the rank and the score. Rest everything is completely determined by the system, and they have options. For example, in the first counseling round, they got one option, 5th preference, and they want to upgrade. It is possible in the next round. They can wait till the last round, till the counseling finishes. And let us say they are not getting their desired branch, they have an option to exit with full refund of fees. We never retain any fees, and we completely follow whatever is the regulatory body's notification as per the notification. And if they are interested in joining, they can pay with even the scholarship fees. There is scholarship. 50% of the seats is under scholarship scheme. And the most important thing is they have to take a chance in order to get into Amrita, rather than seeing at the fee structure. And because the moment you talk about the fees, I would say that you have to think of what ROI is. What is the return on investment? For example, we had an interview of the BTech students maybe a couple of weeks back by Cisco, and they are offered something like 30 to 32 lakhs per annum. So what it ultimately depends on the skill and the performance at the end of the day. So it is not just getting into Amrita or getting admission into Amrita. Rather, you think of what will happen after 4 years. That is also more important, because they are putting their effort, their whole time and fees. So we have all the windows open for any student, and we are not considering the board marks. We will go only with the entrance rank, our own entrance rank, or JEE main score. We are not waiting for JEE advanced, or they can come through either PSN education entrance examination or SAT score. So that is how we do the admissions at Amrita.
How does one student, say if I want to prepare for getting admission, how does one prepare for it? What is the procedure? What is it that you advise those aspiring to get admission to your university prepare for the BTech degree?
One important thing, again, I will say that the kind of trend in India is coaching centers. So coaching center is a trend in India, and I never, of course, I will not recommend, because if I am a student, I will explore myself first, and if I'm not capable enough, then I look for resources to increase my capability. So competitiveness is more important. For that, it is not necessary to go for coaching. And there are a lot of websites now, a lot of online portals offering free test. In fact, we also have a portal where they can just log in and take the test. It is free of cost. Any number of times they can take. So, for example, they are taking 10 times. 10 times they take the test, and it will generate report based on their performance. For example, they are getting less marks in physics on a specific topic in the first attempt. They can look into that report and improve it for the next attempt. So that is how the only way is practice. Practice is the only solution to be competitive. Let it be entrance examination, or let it be after entrance examination. Again, there are exams coming up, right? Even once they start their career in the industry, there also they have exam. The only difference is it's not a written examination. So it will continue across the career. And how we adapted towards the situation. In fact, we are all sitting online, right? We are sharing the screen, as Arjun said. We are sharing the screen now. So adaptability is also very, very, very important. It is not just getting admission. Again, my emphasis is not to getting into admission. Do not limit your thought in getting admission to Amrita. Rather, think from a bigger perspective. That is very, very crucial, very, very important. Thank you, Lakshmi.
And how important it is to choose a stream when it comes to BTech degree, because most of the time I see students running behind computer science. Is this the norm today? What is, like, does civil engineering, does chemical engineering not have a future?
In fact, I did a seminar. Basically, I'm also behind computers only. I update myself in technology, because I run a contest called as International Collegiate Programming Contest, world's largest programming contest, and it is only into competitive programming. But my recommendation is, do not jump into any branch just by hearsay. They have to explore. So that is why we over the past 2 years, we have been running several webinars on different career opportunities, especially in engineering domain. So the best option to choose is to explore the career opportunities in at least 2 or 3 branches. So a student must have 3 or 4 options in his mind. So branch is more important, and let them explore what is the career opportunity available in each and every domain or each and every branch. Because nowadays most of the information is available on online. For example, we ourselves have published the curriculum. Our curriculum is publicly available, and they can go through the curriculum and see what all subjects are offered in each career, each BTech branch. So the best way to choose is you be responsible for your career. I respect a lot from that Western culture. Rather than jumping into just by your friend said or your relative said or friend's father told or parents told, explore the career, and there are a lot of career counseling opportunities available now. Utilize those opportunities and explore different branches and then choose. And mind you, you must always have 3 or 4 options. So it is not just getting into the branch. There are a lot of sub branches available, especially if you go for computer science. They have opportunities to go for cyber security or again data analysis or AI or ML. A mechanical engineer can always go for aerospace or automobile or automotive. So ultimately, it has to be based on the interest and passion. So computer science, definitely it is relevant. But imagine 20 lakhs students register for JEE mains, and all of them going behind computer science. What will happen after 2024, 2025? What will happen? Because I know I witnessed exactly the same scenario in 2012. Computer science was the least, the branch with the lowest demand, and we found it very difficult to fill these CSE seats. Almost the same scenario now. Everybody wants computer science. Now, what will happen after maybe 5 years time? And we all know that we are watching the news and saying that there are no skilled engineers available, and the colleges are being shut. So the scenario is in such a way that I just need a BTech degree. I am not concerned about the skill. So that mindset has to change, and let it be an aspirant. And we always look for aspirants. It is not just filling up the seats. We are not interested in filling up the seats. We need aspirants. I'm very particular about that, especially by looking after that mission, because I taught for 16 years. I am a computer science teacher. I taught for 16 years and I know the background. That is why I conduct a lot of programs for the students, targeting the students right from 8th standard. They have to learn from 8th standard itself. They need to get exposed right from 8th standard. So thank you, Lakshmi. Sorry for taking so much of time to answer this question.
No, that's fine. Actually, I want to ask Mr. Mohan, while a student is looking for a degree, course, or whatever, what are the key things he should keep in mind whether it is the institution that he should keep in mind or the course that he's opting for?
Sure. So a lot of things, I totally agree with Dr. Chaitanya, the way he has put it. See, fundamentally, right, education is a lot about your discipline, your interest. I mean, the way I've been in EdTech for many, many years now, and especially after things have gone online and when you don't have a teacher standing in front of you, forcing you out, right? We always keep saying that education is 50% teaching and 50% learning. And when it has now gone remote, it has become 30% teaching and 70% learning. So what you do to imbibe what is being given to you is very, very important, which means that you should be truly excited, curious about what you're learning. So hence, what you're going to pick up should be something you aspire for. So whenever a student come to us to get counseled on any particular course, right, be it an MBA, be it a data science course, be it a machine learning course or cyber security, whatever it is, right? And all these courses are like high in demand today. The first thing what our counselors do is, okay, before getting into this, let's try to understand a bit about why you're doing it. So they ask for their background. What are they doing? Why are they doing? Why data science? So a lot of times we find that people go take up data science because they are in a tech job. They have been coding or testing for many years, and they find that there is no growth in this portfolio. And they see that this data science team, okay, they have been getting good hikes and good growth and good packages. So why don't I also go in there? But do you really have the interest in doing it? So a lot of this counseling is also about that, telling them what data science is, what is the career trajectory of a data scientist, how will that job be very different from what you're doing today, how it is important to have an interest in statistics and mathematics to it. So it's about that. So the viewpoint, what we try to say is 50-60% of the work is done if you pick up something where you have truly interest in. Because as the world progresses, it is not about your certificates, it's about your skill. If you're looking at this education to be a life transformational experience, and you really are looking for a lifestyle change at the end of it, that's a better job, immigration, whatever it is, then you need to acquire the skill sets through the process. It's not about going and being in campus for 4 years, getting through the examination. It is not about studying for 18 months, doing an MBA, it's not about that. It's about truly going through that rigor and enjoying that rigor and getting that skill. So this is what we try to impose on when you are trying to get into any course, right? First of all, let's understand what it is. Do you think that this will fit you? Do you think that this will give you that opportunity to go where you want to go? Then we, of course, give the details, there is the financial part, so on and so forth. So this is how the entire process is done. And largely this has become successful also. On our platform, we have more than 90% of the people completing the degree in the required time. And it's not easy. On Upgrad platform, what happens is the course is really rigorous. You have countless assignments, you have deadlines. If you don't submit it in the deadline, then there are, repercussions of the same. The exams are proctored. It is not easy. There are coding assignments which goes in. You have to create the output. There are plagiarism checks which happen. So it's not an easy process like the way people have in mind when they go for an online thing. So truly, you have to go through it. And 90% completion, 90% of the people actually go through it because of this mechanism of ensuring that they are interested in it. Of course, there is a lot of other things also happen which through the course. There is hand-holding, there is support, so on and so forth. But I think the first and foremost thing you need to be clear about when you're going and taking a degree or making the choices, are you interested or curious about what you're going to do? And will it help taking you where you want to go? Now, you may not get the answers yourself. You may have to speak to the counselors, but that's what the counselors is sitting here for. So this is the way we go for it.
Mr. Chaitanya, I just want to ask about this. Like, what are the options opened after doing BTech? Is it very necessary to top it up with an MBA degree, or just after BTech, what are the job options open?
See, engineering is basically a domain where the students will be made to think about innovation and design. That is the fundamental thing. I'm not expecting a computer science student to go and develop a software. No, those days are gone. The engineering is totally about innovation and design, and of course, the opportunities after the BTech degree is enormous. They can go for specialization with MS. There are opportunities to do specialization in a respective domain. For example, if somebody wants to pursue aerospace or aeronautical or automotive electronics after mechanical engineering, they can do that. Or they can take a break in between, go to the industry and learn more about the work environment and how they can contribute or how they can improve their skills, and then pursue the MS. There are a lot of students who join MBA degree immediately after the BTech. So as Arjun rightly said, basically now the opportunities are enormous in the sense that anybody can pursue a PG degree online now. So there is no limitation as such. And again, wherever you go, see, I'll tell my example. In fact, I have taken one of the courses from Upgrad in data analytics. and I'm doing admissions for university, and I expected to understand what type of data is coming in. So, which means again, let it be any engineering domain, any branch, whether they pursue any type of career. This is the updation in technology is really important. So they can either pursue MS, or go for MTech degree, or go for MBA, or go for a job. So it is ultimately their decision, and there are a lot of students going abroad also to pursue MS or doing PhD. And I should say that the students should come into education sector also, because most of them are jumping into industry because of the high salary. So that is the current scenario. The opportunities are enormous, and again, I should emphasize one thing is they can take a decision maybe after the second year, when they move to the third year, because as per the curriculum, what happens is most of the engineering curriculums are designed in such a way that there will be a lot of elective courses, elective subjects in the fourth year. So what they have to do is they have to decide on where to turn, whether they want to turn to research or to the industry or pursue higher degree. And based on that, they can choose the elective courses in the fourth year, do the minor and major project based on the electives, and then go for the options, whether it is industrial job or whether it is MS or MBA. So my advice is that the option can be chosen only by end of the second year or beginning of the third year. Based on that, you select the elective courses, just like a 10th class student turning to different groups. They have different groups and they select based on their passion, something like that. So that is how they should plan.
And do you really, what is the placement procedure like? How much weightage is given your university? What are the job options opened, and what is the placement procedure like? What is how often do they come and visit the campuses? Now the campus is completely wiped out.
So we have the placement drive for 3 or 4 months, starting in the month of usually it starts in the month of May or June. And we mostly try to place the students a year ahead of their degree, and we try to get them internship, because as I suggested earlier, as I told earlier, internship is very, very crucial. And let me connect this answer to the previous answer, because if you are into internship, I can decide on what all courses I should pursue in the final year or the project. It is an added advantage. And most of the companies offer the placement to those students who complete the internship successfully. So internship is an opportunity to prove their skills, they prove their performance. And even if the CGPA is less, companies will definitely look for the performance and skill. And we always have a cutoff where it is somewhere between 6 and 6.5 CGPA. And of course, it depends on the company also. The company will say that, okay, we need this range of CGPA students who have scored this range of CGPA. And they have the technical interview, problem solving interview, and the HR interview. So there is a process. So what we do is, we have, as part of the curriculum, we have specific soft skills training. And we train them on how to face an interview, how to increase their aptitude by conducting several tests. And we have opened up certification programs. There are a lot of certification programs offered by CodeChef, offered by Unacademy, offered by Amazon. And they can pursue that certification program, which is an added advantage when they face the placement interview. So the moment they are getting in BTech admission at Amrita, right from the first year itself, we start training them, and there is dedicated credits for that as part of the curriculum. And they are trained in such a way that they are able to solve the problems at the time of interview, and it continues for the 3 years. 3 years time, at the end of the third year, they face the interview, and they are able to crack the interviews by top companies. And companies like Microsoft, companies like Amazon, Cisco, they all recruit the students only after the internship, because of course companies also want to make sure that whoever comes in has enough skills. Because when we say that, okay, a student has got 52 lakhs or 59 lakhs per annum, it means something for company also, because the product of Amrita, the Amrita product that comes into an industry or a company, that is also very important, right? They also need to make sure that the product that comes in has some value. So we train them rigorously across 3 years so that they are able to crack the test.
Another thing I would like to ask is, what is the seen in the last few years when these placement companies come? What is the maximum companies that come is other than computer engineers? Is it the maximum craze of picking up computer engineer students? What is it like?
No, I should say that. See, basically, as I told earlier, one is electrical vehicles is rising now. Now today I saw that Ola is starting a factory in Tamil Nadu. The moment you talk about automotive, it is no more just a device or a vehicle. It has some electronics involved. It has some communication involved. It has some data generation involved. So when you look at that current scenario, it is not just for the computer science engineers. It is also for the mechanical engineers. It is also for the chemical engineers, because now the drug design companies or pharmaceutical companies want support from engineers. So if you look at the current scenario, there are opportunities for all the branches. Again, my emphasis is on the performance. How much are you able to perform well? And what is it that you know outside the classroom? What is it that you know extra? It is not just talking about the theoretical subjects, rather applying the theory in a scenario where they are asked to design a solution for a given problem. So if you are able to crack that, irrespective of the branch, irrespective of the domain, they will certainly get. And it is not just computer science engineers. Let me again tell you, it is not just computer science engineers, but any engineering domain. The job perspective, the job, if you look at the job, it will completely depend on skill alone, nothing else. And I should also bring in that the concept of that not national education policy, which heavily emphasizes on experiential learning. So that is very, very important. So skill is important. It is not just that a programmer alone will get a job. No, certainly not.
Mr. Mohan, you just mentioned that Upgrad had recently partnered with Amrita Vishwa Vidyapitam. So what I just want to know for the degree courses, what are the benefits that you say online courses can provide over a traditional model?
Sure. So I think I had covered a bit of it, the whole idea of access and affordability, and the whole point of learning while you are earning or while you're working. See, there are only so many students who can go to the prestigious Amrita campuses and do these courses. There's always a limit of number which can be taken there. And there's also a limit of the kind of people who can go there. A 12th standard pass student definitely can go there, spend 4 years doing a BTech course. But there are a lot of people who don't want to leave their current job to do an degree program because they can't afford to lose their income. It is the concept of online education is largely for these people who are looking at upskilling while continuing in this job. Now, this upskilling could be for a transition that is moving into a new domain. Like we have BBA, I mean, we have actually a lot of MBA courses with Amrita, which are specialized in areas like data science, digital marketing, finance, so on and so forth. So if I'm someone who is doing coding today and I want to get into a management profile where data is very important, I can look at a degree like this. That's the first application. Second is, of course, professional acceleration. I am in a job and I want to acquire skill set which will help me get promoted. This is another way of looking at it, because of course you are very unidirectional in your job, right? You're only doing certain part of it. While when you go and take a course, you get a much broader perspective. You get a much broader opportunity to go ahead and get those skills which will get you promoted. And of course, the third one, which is the most common reason why people come to do an online course, is professional confidence. A lot of students, after getting into the industry and while working also, don't feel confident enough that they can be successful. They feel that they haven't learned enough, and they could be they haven't learned enough. So they are now looking at a degree which can really help them get that confidence, because someone is solving their doubts, someone is giving them their deeper understanding. So these are the use cases which we are really seeing, and these use cases are no longer small. Because I personally believe that the problem of Indian education is not quality. It is largely an infrastructure problem. We have a lot of great universities today which can compete with the best in the world, the Ivy Leagues of the world. Absolutely no problems on that. I mean, look at every Ivy League in this world are full of Indian teachers, right? And how can we say that Indian education is not good enough? That's not the problem today. The problem today is infrastructure, education infrastructure. There are only so many good colleges and there are only so many good seats, which is the problem we are trying to largely solve through. I mean, currently, engineering is not something we can do online. So that will still continue to be in campuses. But I really hope that the next step of the education policy will allow that also. Because finally, in computer science, you are doing simulation. Why can't you do it online? Anyway, you're sitting in front of a computer. Everything can happen in cloud today.
Thank you, Maheshwaram Chaitanya and Arjun Mohan. It was great talking to you. I hope this webinar is going to be of great help for the aspiring engineers of our country. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, Outlook. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great having you and meeting you guys here. Thanks.